All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Middletown High School Cavalier and Odessa High School Ducks Marching Band Info Night for 2020. We're coming to you virtually from across the MOT area with some of our band boosters, instructors, to tell you a little bit about the exciting season that we've got planned for you this fall. So first, we're going to start with a few introductions. I'll just start. My name is Brian Enline. I'm the band director. I've been in the Appoquinmink School District now for about 10 years as Middletown High School's band director, but I am also going to be Odessa High School's band director starting in the fall of 2020. So I will actually have the pleasure of working with both programs this first year and getting this joint venture off the ground, so to speak. We also have a couple of our instructors that joined us this evening that wanted to say hello, so you can get an idea of who some of the people are that you're going to be working with and some of our band boosters as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our percussion co-director, Mr. Drew Denany, who's here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Drew. I'm one of two percussion co-directors here at Middletown. My partner in crime, Kevin Chaffinch, couldn't be here tonight. He runs the battery, which is all of the members who are wearing drums who are marching around on the field, whereas I work with the front ensemble, who are all of the auxiliary marimbas, xylophones, and rack and synthesizers up in the front of the field. Two of us together run the percussion program.
And because we're coming to you live from our houses, I'm not sure if you can hear my dog, so I do apologize if you hear the angry barking of a little mini pincher in the background. So we're going to go to one of our visual instructors next, and that's Mr. Dan Hughes.
Hey, band. I'm Dan, one of the visual staff with the band. This will be my 7th year teaching with the band. Mainly work on visual technique, marching technique, as well as teaching drill, cleaning drill, make everything look great. So excited to get back out there.
Thanks, Dan. Next, we're going to go to our color guard director, Mr. Nicholas Tavares.
Hey, everyone. I'm Nick. This is going to be my 9th fall with the Middletown High School Marching Cavaliers. And actually, this will be my 11th fall working with one Mr. Endline. I will accept all of your condolences later. I joke, I kid. I'm really excited to get started with this year's season amidst all of the craziness that's happening. I am the director of the Color Guard, which, if you are unfamiliar with marching band, the Color Guard are the performers that visually interpret the show through the use of flags, rifles, sabers, all mock items, mind you, as well as props that may be utilized and just can help to portray our story visually.
Thanks so much, Nicholas. What Nick meant to say is I'm an absolute joy to work with, and it has been an absolute wonderful journey that we have all been on together.
That's exactly what I meant.
It's so, but it has to be so good, right? Because our students keep coming back and want to help our programs. And we actually are lucky to have this next lady who is actually one of Nicholas's and my first students, and that is Miss Christina Marcette. And little known fact, or maybe super known fact, Teacher of the Year, Christina Marcette.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina. I, like Nick, have also been working with the Color Guard at Middletown for 9 years. But I beat Nick on this one in the fact that I've been stuck with Mr. Enline for like 15 years, probably.
My condolences.
Yeah. I mean, I've been stuck with you for 11, so.
Hey.
But so I work primarily with the flags in the Color Guard, but get to spend some time with everybody. So I look forward to seeing all of the returning faces and meeting those of you that are coming to with us for the first time.
So obviously you can tell there's a bit of a rapport amongst our staff members here. And, you know, it's one of the things that I think that we truly value and treasure as an instructional staff. But another student, and actually this time an actual Middletown High School alumni and also color guard instructor, we have Miss Alyssa Connell.
Hi everyone, my name's Alyssa. I'm more of a new kid on the block. This is only my second year teaching. I marched 4 years at Middletown and I'm super excited to be back, and I'm really excited to see where this season takes us.
And this is just a small sampling of some of the instructors that'll be working with the program. Just like everybody, a lot of our instructors are on other Zoom calls for other meetings and their civilian jobs and things like that right now and couldn't be with us this evening. But you'll have an opportunity to meet them soon, we hope, when we start this crazy thing that we love to call the activity. With us this evening, we also have two really, really important people that oversee a large group of super important people, and that is the Middletown High School Band Boosters. And representing them this evening, we have our booster co-president, Miss Sherry Woodall, and Mr. Pat Williams, booster vice president. So we'll start with Sherry first.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'm a former member of Middletown High School's marching band, and I'm glad to be back now as a member of the Band Boosters. This will be my third season back and my second season as co-president. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of our returning students and family members and welcoming all of our new families on board.
Hi, guys. My name is Pat Williams. Welcome the MHS families and also welcome the new OHS families to this endeavor this season. I'm a volunteer on the board, and when I'm not moving equipment and props or driving the box truck, I'm helping plan the home show, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But welcome to the fall season, everyone.
So needless to say, there's not just a lot of adult involvement in this program, although it certainly does require a lot of that, whether it's instructional staff or, like Pat said, volunteer parents that are, moving equipment or driving equipment or, whatever. But we also have a very involved student leadership program. And the student leadership program is something that is really kind of the heart and the core of a lot of what we do here in our program. And the reason why I say that is because we want our students to take ownership. We want our students to learn not just what we want them to do this year, but what we hope they'll continue to do for many years. And then eventually, like some of our instructors on the call this evening, will actually come back and either work with our program or work with other programs, because we want more students to experience the kinds of things that we experienced by being in the marching arts. So this year, and I'm going to go through our list just briefly with our student leadership. With our drum majors returning this year, we have Miss Kayla Chin and Miss Georgia Pearson for our drum majors. And for those that are not familiar with the marching band activity, the drum majors are the ones that are up front conducting. They're the student conductors of the ensemble. Our flute section leader this year will be Miss Gabby Garcia. Our clarinet section leader this year will be Miss Cheyenne Lasarica. Our saxophone section leader this year will be Tony Murto. Our trumpet section leader this year will be Miss Megan Williams. Our mellophone section leader this year will be Brienne Lasarica. And I can probably stop saying this year because it's just this year. Our low brass section leader will be Maggie Jeffrey. In the front ensemble, we have Mr. Zachary Bowser. For our battery percussion, that's, as Drew referred to, the drums that people are carrying on the field, Mr. Kenyon Grimes. And in our color guard section, we are going to defer for a little bit because we are going to have those students complete a little bit more with some of your students over the summer before we make a determination there. So we're immensely proud of all of these student leaders. About a quarter of the band came out for leadership again this year, which is super exciting for us because this is something that we really believe in. And we also teach the students that regardless of the title that they get, everybody can be a leader within the program. And again, that's something that we're really proud of. So congratulations to all those students. All right, so moving on. So why a combined band this year? Well, first and foremost, two bands, one band director. And I can't be in two places at once despite my best effort. And I do try that a lot because a lot of times I'm actually pulled three different ways with my career as an Army reservist as well. So one of the things that we discussed was making sure that I could be available to all of my students this year to ensure that they get the instruction and the leadership that they need for their respective programs. Infrastructure is another key thing. If you have been around the marching arts long enough to know, or if you've even seen the Middletown Cavalier Band move through town, we don't roll lightly. We've got a 25-foot trailer, a probably 25-foot box truck. I don't know if those are the right sizes, but that seems about right. They're big, and you can't miss them. So it's definitely a process to move your program from point A to point B. Middletown has all of that, and Odessa doesn't yet. So this is something that can certainly benefit both programs. I just remarked on our student leadership program, where these students have applied, interviewed, and participated in workshops and various projects since about February. And realistically, we tell the students on day one, they've been auditioning essentially since they came in the band. We're always watching student interactions and leadership potential as the year progresses. So this is definitely a huge asset to this program because of the established leadership core that we already have there. And the exciting thing too is it's going to give the Odessa students an opportunity to see what they can do with a leadership program as they develop their own leadership, student leadership, excuse me. We also have just an amazing instructional staff. And you heard us joking earlier, Nicholas, Christina, so many of us have been doing this for so many years together. And there's a reason that we keep coming back because we genuinely do enjoy working with each other, most days anyway. And but also we just really all believe in the same thing, and it's the experiences that the students receive in this activity. And I say this every year, and I would stake my job on it, that this instructional staff is hands down the best instructional staff in the state of Delaware, if not the entire Region 9 area, which is a area that encompasses for our band competitions, Delaware, Maryland, areas as well. So immensely proud of everything that these folks have accomplished and do for our students, but I'm more proud to call them my friends. And that's why I think we're as successful as we are. They bring so much experience to the table too, decades of experience, some of us more decades than others, but that's what makes our program so unique. And speaking of experience, that's really one of the most important reasons why we're combining. We combined because one of the chief concerns that was raised when Odessa High was being built was a lot of Odessa parents were concerned, well, if you're at Middletown, Mr. Enline, how are the Odessa kids going to have comparable experiences? They don't have a football team yet or a varsity football team yet. They're not going to be ready for competitions because they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the numbers. So one of the things that we discussed when opening the building was joining the program so that they could take advantage of all of those things that we've already discussed to give them that quality experience, to give them that awesome bonding experience that is Friday Night Lights, to give them that experience of band competitions and parades and all of the public performances that we do throughout the course of the year. But it's important to note, though, Odessa families, you're going to have an opportunity to have your own separate events as well. So, the Odessa band will also have their own little mini performances throughout the course of the year. Obviously, we're going to talk about schedule in just a little bit here. And, we do ask your patience with scheduling because that's going to be a little bit trickier than it has been in years past, as I'm sure you can all attest to. So let's talk schedule right now. These are some of the important dates that you need to know. And realistically, we are looking at going through these mini camps. And traditionally, returning members from the Middletown Band would know that we usually did 3 days in June and give you some time off, and we do 3 days together in July. And while we are aware that the governor has loosened a lot of his restrictions starting June 1st, we think that we want to give the district a little bit of time to make sure that they figure out their stance and what their policies and procedures are going to be given CDC and governor's guidance moving forward. But all of these dates are fairly accurate as it stands right now until any changes may happen. And we'll talk about how we're going to communicate those changes later. You can see here, we talk about for new and returning members from both schools. So again, this is for Middletown kids and this is for Odessa kids. Location will be at Middletown right now for all of these events. I'll say that again, right now the location is for Middletown at all of these events. And we say that because Odessa will likely still be a construction site through a good bit of the month of August. And so that is what we are, we're going to take advantage of the field space that we have at Middletown. Again, in some ways, having two schools is really benefiting us this year in terms of the flexibility that we're going to have as a program. I do see one change on this slide that already is going to happen. Unfortunately, if you have not heard, they did just cancel the Middletown Peach Festival Parade, which was traditionally held on Saturday, whatever Saturday that is, the second Saturday of August. The 15th. So we will probably be making that a rehearsal day to make up for lost time that we're losing right now due to the COVID pandemic. So we'll update that slide and make sure that that's corrected moving forward, and then on the other paperwork as well. Please note, we are going to talk about fees and paperwork right here. Hopefully you can see my mouse moving in this recording. And in the number 2 block there, all fees and paperwork are due by July 28th. We're going to push that as late as we can because, again, if something were to happen, we don't want to be collecting funds to have to return funds. It's a lengthy process that nobody wants to necessarily go through. Again, I'm not going to read through all these bullet points, but I do want to draw your attention to the band camp. It is a 9 to 5 day. It's a long day after all of these weeks of remote teaching and quarantine. If everything pans out, parents, you are welcome. We are glad to take your kids and keep them out of your house for a little while and get them some sunlight. It will be our pleasure to work with them. And we hope that you'll join us for a parent preview on the 22nd, and details will follow what that's going to look like and where that's going to be. It's a great place to find a little camaraderie, and it's also a great place to see what your students did over those band camp weeks. We also hold summer tech classes. Again, this is still a little bit up in the air, but this is for our various caption sections, the winds, percussion, and color guard. Generally speaking, we have held these on Wednesdays, and they go from 6 to 8:30. However, our start date is currently to be determined based on the guidance that we receive from the district. Again, it's unfortunate that we have to kind of hold off until the official determinations are made, but we want to give you an idea of what the schedule would normally look like so you can start planning. We suspect that it will likely begin with percussion and color guard because they're going to be a little bit easier to socially distance and they don't require the use of air to make their equipment or instruments work. Winds will be to be determined based on their approval, and will likely be split into maybe even woodwind and brass so that we're working with smaller groups of students initially. Again, this is all subject to change based on the guidance that we receive, but it gives you a good idea of what we're looking. We are hoping that this could start as soon as June, but again, I could not guarantee that. And we'll again discuss how we're going to communicate these kinds of changes to you once school's out of session. So this is the question that I probably received the most of when I sent out the questionnaire to parents. So what happens if we're not allowed back? That's a great question that I don't have all of the answers to, but what I can tell you is what we plan on doing in order to make this happen. You can see here that I know if you were a Middletown student, we used Smart Music this year. Smart Music is an online program that allows students to play along with a live recording of the ensemble, and it provides them real-time feedback and scores, shows them, did they play early, did they play late, the right notes, the wrong notes. And one of the coolest things about this program is because we do a custom score every year, we can actually upload our custom score into the software so the students will be able to play along with the recording. From day one. We will likely be using this regardless of whether remote marching band happens. We will probably be utilizing this, throughout the course of the season to really ensure our students are really digging into their music. Percussion and color guard will receive instructional videos through various social platforms, whether that's through the Remind app, we'll talk about that in a second, or Flipgrid, or other avenues that a lot of the students are probably used to now after almost 8 weeks of remote learning. The goal here is if it doesn't allow us, or if we're not allowed to go back in person initially, then we're going to work remotely so that when we do get together, we can keep moving forward. The old adage that we always share with the band is if you're not working hard, chances somebody else is. So we want to keep our students as engaged as possible as we can throughout the summer months. Once the school year hits, we do 2 nights a week. All right. I know, you know, all the horror stories. Oh, they practice 11 billion hours a week. I don't even know how the math on that works. You know, it's just really intense work, and we achieve a lot in those 6 hours every week. You'll notice that it says most likely Monday and Wednesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. That's what we've traditionally done in the past. But again, there are some question marks right now as to what fields will be available, what rehearsal spaces will be available, especially depending on what kinds of restrictions may or may not be placed on large gatherings like marching band or sports and field availability. So please note that the location and exact days will either be at OHS or MHS, depending on those kinds of availability concerns. And I've been working that with both building principals, and they're both aware. So we will definitely communicate that as soon as we know. You know, certainly, you know, there's a challenge for being fair to all of the activities, not just marching band, but athletes and all of the other programs that need use of facilities. And we're trying to be cognizant of that as well and be good team players. Attendance is super important to us. This slide is fairly self-explanatory, but I love that first statement, okay? Even as a freshman Odessa students and Middletown students, you're a varsity starter. Everybody's lettering and marching band on day one. There's no bullpen for me to go to. There's no bench to sub you out if you're not getting the job done or if you're not there. So we want you to be there. We need you to be there because the team counts on everybody. And that's really, really important. Okay. I talk about a handbook here. You'll see how to download that and read that a little bit more in depth. It has our attendance policy a little bit more in depth. And again, we'll work with you. If there's a known conflict, you can't be at something because you had a pre-scheduled whatever, you know, because I know dentist appointment, you know, you usually schedule those things 6 months in advance. If there's a conflict, just tell us, we'll work with you. It's when it's not communicated, that's when students find themselves in a little bit of trouble because they haven't communicated. And it's very important that students communicate. We're really working on students advocating for themselves and having that self-reliance, resiliency, and independence that they need as young adults. So we do ask that that gets communicated early and often. And again, you can read more about that attendance policy in the handbook. That said, again, another asterisk slide, right? Given that policies and procedures could need to change based on guidance presented from the governor or the school district, we will update our attendance policy accordingly. But in the meantime, please use common sense. If rehearsals are happening and there's any concern that you are experiencing signs of COVID-19, or if there's a situation that requires you to stay home because you need to self-quarantine, you came in contact with somebody, just stay home. Please, 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 please. We would much rather you be healthy and keep everyone healthy. Just communicate. That's all we ask. And that's such an important aspect in everything we do in this activity is communicate. So again, understand the attendance policy is what we have used in years past, but it may be subject to change based on the guidance we receive moving forward. You'll notice I just talked about communication. So here's one of the ways we communicate through these websites. I apologize to the Odessa students. I am not a webmaster and I'm not good at websites. So your website name right now is really, really long. So if there's anyone out there, Odessa parents, and we're looking for some webmasters, please, by all means. I apologize. It looks like I made something from the 1990s probably. Our Middletown band one is run by our boosters, which is super helpful. And I just provide them the information and then they put pertinent information, paperwork out there as well. The other important thing that both of these websites are going to have is your calendar. The calendar is so important because it's a Google Calendar and it's going to be live updated. So when changes happen or something gets canceled or moved, you'll see all of those changes happening in real time. And again, you can add them to your smart devices or your own personal calendars at home. And that's why they're so useful. So we hope that you will bookmark those respective websites for your school. Continuing on with communication. Some of you may or may not have experience with the Remind app. The Remind app is going to be the primary means of communication, specifically as it relates to the students, but also to parents, because it is such a quick thing and it can be received through the app, through text message, through email, however you set it up. However, you'll notice on this slide, it says student account. As of last year, Remind put some caps or some limitations on the number of participants in a Remind class. And we easily exceed those in a given year. So we did have to separate student accounts and parent accounts. You can, again, download the app, or you can do it right now by texting @CAVStudent to that number right there on your screen, and that is for the student account. Please note that we will use this account, even though it says @CAVStudent, for both Middletown and Odessa students this year, since they'll be getting or needing the same information. I'll leave that slide up for just one more second. And parents, here's a slide just for you. So parents, this is the one that you want to join, okay? Anything that gets sent to @CAVStudent gets sent to @CAVSparent, okay? So you are not missing any information. It's just what we need to do in order to ensure that we can have the maximum amount of people to receive these communications. So I do apologize. It is a little bit more inconvenient than we'd like, but because this is the main app that the district wants us to use, it's what we have to do. So I'll leave that up for another second. Oh, I should remind you that it is both a Apple and Android enabled app, so you can use it on any iOS device or Google device as well. All right, so all of this is great, but now the next big question, if what does the schedule look like with COVID and all that, was the first big question that parents asked me. The next one is, what does it cost to participate? And I've heard everything from thousands of dollars to, like tens of thousands of dollars. No, not even close. It is an expensive activity, but for that price point, everything that you get in terms of the travel and the equipment and so on and so forth is just second to none. And you'll notice though, this year, the slide says anticipated 200 to 250. And again, this is another one of those asterisk slides. And I say that because we don't know exactly what our fundraising efforts are going to look like this year. And traditionally, our fundraising efforts have helped us offset and minimize the cost to our students. But, there are some concerns that maybe our traditional fundraisers aren't going to happen the way that they normally would. So to speak to that a little bit more, I'm going to bring our booster president on, Ms. Sherry Whittle.
So as Mr. Enline mentioned, the cost that we're anticipating this year is being between $200 and $250 per person. But what I want to make all of our families aware of is these fees are only covering approximately 50% of the costs associated with the marching band season. Looking forward, we're anticipating our budget for the 2020 season being approximately $45,000. And I'm sure, some of you that are new to this are wondering, why is this so expensive to do? One of the things that I want to share out is Middletown has a history of performing shows that are designed specifically for our program. And the cost of the show includes items such as, the customized music, copyright fees, drill design, flags, props, guard uniforms. But we also have to keep in mind that we do have ongoing monthly expenses, for items such as insurance, vehicle maintenance, and the fuel for getting that equipment around. So as you're going to see on the next slide, we are going to talk a little bit about some opportunities for you to help fundraise some of those individual fees, as well as some fundraising opportunities as a group to help offset some of these costs. One thing that I do want to share out with you guys is, we will be giving you more details about, again, deadlines for payments, how we can accept those payments. We do typically take payments through checks. We will also use a PayPal system, and we'll give you information on how to connect to that. But if you use a PayPal system, there is a fee that does go along with it. So all of that information is going to be updated in the handbook. So for fundraising, we'll jump on to that next slide. So these are just some examples of some fundraisers that we have done in the past. Sharon Livingstone, who is one of our co-presidents, has a fundraising committee that works tirelessly to identify fundraising opportunities that will benefit the band as a whole, as well as, again, those individual opportunities to lower some of your costs. But as we talked about, some of these past things we've done, such as car washes, bingo games, we're waiting to see what our ability is to do some of those activities. We also recognize some of those individual fundraisers, such as Yankee Candles and Joe Corby Pizza sales. We may not be able to draw as much funds off of those because families are dealing with the results of the pandemic. So we're definitely looking for some families and just any volunteers that have some great ideas for some fundraising. And we'll be looking to you to just reach out and help us with all of this. So one of our big fundraisers that we do also hold is our band competition. So we're going to have Pat Williams talk a little bit about that.
Hi guys, I'm back. So the home show that I referenced earlier, the home show is basically our home marching band competition that we host that plays host to about 20 to 24 different high school marching bands across our region. This year, mark your calendar, it's Saturday, September 26th. It will be an afternoon and evening event. So we're excited to have that, and it will be on the campus of Odessa High School. So we need a lot of help with this, especially since we'll be at a new venue, and we had everybody trained for our old venue, so now we got to retrain them for the new venue. So some areas that we'll always be looking for help for is parking. That's spectators, buses, and bands, ticket sales, concession stand operation, which is really where we do our best in terms of fundraising at this event. We have field marshals. If someone has a gift of hospitality, we provide refreshments to the visiting band directors and judges. We need announcers, band hosts, registration table, and oh yeah, we still need some parents left over to help our own band kids. So lots of opportunities to help there. To cap the night off, we have a featured collegiate marching band, Mr. Enline's alma mater, the incomparable Westchester Golden Rams Marching Band under the direction of Mr. Adam Gumbel. So we're very excited to have them come, be the showpiece at the end of the show. We're excited for the high school's kids and bands, as well as the spectators, to be able to see one of the premier collegiate marching bands in our area. So, we're very excited. It's an event we've had for a number of years. We do it just like the rest of the band activities. We do it with excellence, and it's a well-respected show in our region. So, we'll be looking forward to as much help as we can get, and more information to follow over the course of the summer.
Thanks, Pat and Sherry. I know one of the questions was that I received was, why are we hosting it at Odessa's campus and not at Cavalier Stadium? Many of you, I would assume most of you, if not all of you, are aware that they are going to be in the process of tearing down Meredith Middle School at that point, the original Middletown High School, and rebuilding that entire campus. So it was already a tight squeeze as it was, but with all of that construction equipment, we just couldn't figure out a way to do it safely. And so we are immensely grateful to Dr. Perrine for her gracious offer of using Fairview's campus and Odessa High Stadium, and the support of Dr. Donovan in hosting that event over there. And, we are very, very excited to have the Rams join us. We had Del State last year. We've had University of Delaware was at the Appoquinmink show last year. So one of the cool things that our district does is really bring in some programs that show students what you can do if you continue to pursue excellence in the marching arts. All right. So our next slide here is going to bring us to where you can get kind of more granular with some of the broad strokes that we've made in this presentation this evening. All right, and all you need to do is scan those QR codes. I'm going to leave them up here for a second, but remember, this recording is going to be posted and retained on YouTube, on my YouTube channel moving forward. So you can always rewind and scan these again if you need. Again, most phones can scan these QR codes right out of the box. There's also apps that you can do this as well. You'll notice the one on the left is going to be the handbook. Again, that's where we get really granular with all the details that we've talked about, whether it be attendance or fundraising, expectations with behavior. All of that information is there. And traditionally, we've had some paperwork to fill out. We've gone digital this year, so everything is going to be done. Both Middletown students and Odessa students should fill this out. You'll see have an option to choose which school you're going to, and then you just go through with your parents and fill out everything. We do ask that you review the handbook first, because when you get to the end of the forms, you're going to check a little box that says, I understand what's going to be expected of me as a student and as a parent. And then you submit that form, and welcome to the team. We can't wait to have you. If you have any reasons that you can't access these forms, there's my email address. Feel free to just email me, and I'll be glad to send you a copy that way. So one of the other great questions that I had that parents gave was, what can I do to help? And the answer is join the boosters. Now, the great thing about Cavaliers is the Cavalier Band has an outstanding band booster organization already up and running through countless generations of parents that I've had the pleasure of working with, to include our current leadership and parents. It's just an absolute joy, because what they do allows me and the staff to focus on what we do best, and that's teach your children. They help manage the other stuff that might get in the way of focusing on your students, and whether that's logistics or administrative kinds of tasks, they're just always there to help, and we appreciate that. And so what we need is we need both schools' parents to step up to the plate again this year. Odessa, we're looking to be starting our own booster program. So obviously we'll kind of work hand in hand this fall season to kind of give you an experience what the band booster life is like, and who are all these kids and why are they calling me band mom and things like that. So we really need your help, and we're excited to start your booster program, and obviously continue the Cavaliers program of excellence. So again, to speak to that a little bit is going to be our boosters. So I think Sherry's going to speak to that a little bit.
All right. So as Mr. Ensign mentioned, the Band Boosters, we are a volunteer organization that really is made up of all of the families that are out there. And our purpose is really just that, to support the needs of our music programs in our high schools. Currently, we do have an executive board that's comprised of a number of individuals. Pat and myself are on the call this evening. However, we don't have everyone represented, but I want to go ahead and give you those names so you start to recognize as you're hearing those different names and seeing them on emails and newsletters and such. So co-presidents are myself and Sharon Livingstone. We have two vice presidents, Mr. Pat Williams and Mandy Johnson. We have a secretary, Jill Kennedy, and we have three treasurers, Lisa Elder, Lori Silverstein, and Donna Duffy. Our boosters organization does meet typically on a monthly basis. This COVID-19 pandemic has kind of thrown a wrench in some of that. But we typically do meet once a month. Usually we try to do the last Wednesday of the month, and usually try to tie it into when rehearsals are happening, so the parents are already out, whether dropping off a kid or picking up a kid. We're trying to save you some of that extra running that's going around. We will definitely be looking to use your help throughout the whole season. Some of the things that we need assistance with, we've talked about our vehicle drivers. We're going to need chaperones at different events, football games and competitions. We always need help with sewing and uniforms. We need help building props. So the other big piece that we often have assistance with is during our band camp time, getting some parents to volunteer to come in, sit under the tent to help, make sure kids are staying hydrated. We recognize not everyone is always able to give time. But then we also do call for donations for snacks and drinks to, help offset, especially during band camp. So there is a role for everybody in this organization. As Mr. Enline mentioned, we are really fortunate to have Middletown and Odessa bands working together this year for a show. And again, our goal is for these booster organizations to work together. We're going to start off operating as one this season, and we want to make sure that our Odessa families have an opportunity to be involved with all of that and hopefully learn from what's worked for us, what hasn't worked for us. So if any of the Odessa High parents already have a strong interest and are already saying, hey, I want to jump in, and I really want to be involved in doing this, we want to go ahead and start getting you in and kind of learning about some of the different roles, especially of those of the executive board. So any interest, please feel free to reach out to us at that MHS Band Booster email address so that we can begin connecting with you and bringing you up to speed on all of this.
Thanks, Sherry. And you'll also see on there, I've added the Odessa Music Boosters at gmail.com. I'm currently monitoring that. So if you're an Odessa parent and you want to email there, that would be great, because then I can start connecting with you and kind of making the connections between the two booster organizations so we can start talking. We're really excited to make this happen because it takes a village to raise a child. So when you have a village of children, it requires a lot of parents, and we need your help. And this season, probably more than ever, because we are all headed into uncharted territory here. The instructional staff and I were talking just a couple days ago how for 15 years, some of us who've been working together almost, we've kind of been on autopilot, because we know what the summer looks like. We know what the fall looks like. We know, what everything is. And right now we just don't know. And for planners like marching band people, that hurts. The more we communicate, the better. And again, I'll be monitoring the Odessa boosters right now, and Sherry and the Middletown boosters will see that email. All right, so now this brings us to probably the most important slide. Now, normally you have to imagine an auditorium full of students, and honestly, half of them are about to graduate. Some of them are already alumni, and they still come back for this night because they just want to know what the show is. Because for 15 years, I have never slipped and told a student what a show is going to be early. They try to get it out of me. They try to guess. You would think like they were going to win $1 million prize. But we always tell them it's Winnie the Pooh. I know Nicholas was telling the student leaders that he had lovely guard outfits picked out. If Nick, you wanted to share that.
Yes, the journey of skin. It will be called epidermis.
And I'm going to go ahead and just mute Nick now because we just need him to stop. So no, the show is not going to be epidermis, but we do put together a little video to get the students excited about our theme. And so we are proud to present with for all of you this evening, and all of the viewers out there who might just be watching this and have no connection to the boosters or marching band, the reveal of our 2020 production. Please enjoy. And right about now, the crowd goes nuts and they want to know more about the program. And we're excited because 2020 definitely represents a very special destination for our programs. And we're excited to explore this on the field with the two bands. So you'll see this is kind of one of the logos that we're using right now, and there will be some social media cards that will be available to our students. So for Facebook, Instagram, all the things, I don't know, MySpace, whatever kids use these days. I don't think MySpace is a thing anymore, but Tom's still my friend. That they'll be able to actually go and pull these off of our Facebook pages. Both Middletown has a page, Odessa also has a page. Look us up, please join. We'd love to see you. And they'll be able to download those for their social media. We always love to kind of blitz the community with this and let people know what we're all about this season. So let's talk a little bit about the show. Musical selections are going to include some original material from our arranger, Mr. Ryan Williams. As Sherry alluded to, one of the great things that we have available to us is the ability to custom design our show to our students' abilities, talents, and instrumentation every year. The Rascal Flatts classic, Life is a Highway. I was going to ask if you have small children, but you're all teenagers, you better not. I have small children and all we watch is Cars or Cars 2 or Cars 3. And so we know this song very, very well, but we're going to use it in some fun ways. Country Roads, and nobody's a country music fan until that song comes on the radio, and then everybody loves some country. And most people think of John Denver. But we're actually going to go a little bit different route with it and use the arrangement that was used in Kingsman, The Golden Circle. And last but not least, and you heard it alluded to in the video itself, which was the Go the Distance from the Disney movie Hercules. And something that's a little bit out of the box, and I'm going to have Drew talk about this, which is a GPS-inspired percussion break, because we're going to use an actual GPS as part of one of the devices in the show. So, Drew, if you don't mind, take it away.
So something we always do when writing marching band show is we always try to tell the story musically as well as visually, and a really key important part of that is the electronics. Very often we will have electronic samples of voiceover or sound effects that help tell our story along with what is happening on the field. And with our show destination, what we're doing is we're actually carrying a lot of the show through the voice of a GPS. So various points in the show throughout all 8-7 minutes, however long we go, you'll hear a GPS voice describing what point in the journey we are at. And for our percussion break, our percussion heavy section, we had this idea to kind of have the GPS, whenever you miss your turn and your GPS kind of goes haywire and it's like, turn left, now turn right, you missed your turn, and it tells you to do all the things. We kind of decided, what if that was our percussion break? And there's a lot of really fun stuff we can do with that. Not only musically, but also visually, because you can say in 16 counts, turn left, and then the entire band can turn left.
Peanut butter.
4 measures later. Exactly that. And something specific we were doing with this that we're really excited about is we actually took the word recalculating from a GPS voice and we identified the pitch and rhythm of it, and we're actually going to use that to build an ostinato and build a piece of music off of that. So that should be something very interesting and unique. And that is it. Thank you.
Love you, Drew.
So for those that don't know, that would be the intellectual side of the design that we like to work on. And there's certainly an aesthetic and an emotional side that we'll also discuss as well. But I have it under good authority that despite the best trying of and testing of our technology, the video had no sound. And I should have picked up on the social cueing of the terrified faces in the Zoom windows, and I did not. So if you'll indulge me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop this share right now. And I'm going to go ahead and try to share this screen one more time. And let's try that reveal. Best laid plans, folks. Marching band in the age of COVID-19. This is just brave new world for us. Let's try that video one more time. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully it makes more sense with some music now. Staff, if you can hear it.
Represent the Delaware Eastern Maryland Region 9. Please help me welcome Middletown. The judges are ready. Drum major, is your band ready? Performing their 2017 program, the programs in every team show, iconic.
So now I suspect that there would be much more thunderous applause because there was actually music to actually tie it together. And I think it's just such a great reminder about the importance of music and what it is we do, because when there isn't music, that video was probably significantly less effective. So my apologies to everyone. Like I said, even despite our best efforts, things still happen. So we hope you enjoyed. It'll be available with a better frame rate on YouTube and our social media very soon. Shortly after this meeting, as a matter of fact, so you'll be able to check that out and share it with your families, and hopefully to entice others to join. We talked about the musical selection, so we're going to move on. So what's next? Normally we'd have a breakout section. Students, you get a chance to meet your section leaders, talk, get to know each other, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we can't do that virtually this evening, but they're going to be reaching out to you on Remind very soon. So it's super important that you join Remind. Go back and check out those slides earlier. All right, text what you need to join or download the app, whichever works best for you. All right, so we can get there. Also fill out those forms. Once we have your contact information, it makes it so much easier for us to make sure that you are getting the messages. All right, one of the most important things a band parent ever said to me was, Brian, your communication, your only fault is you might actually communicate too much. So people are as informed as they choose to be. And so we hope that you choose to be informed, especially because we want you to be a part of our team. And you don't need to hear me say that. You want to hear it from the students. And one of our student leaders had to do some projects, and one of the projects they put together that we'll be sharing out with the band in the coming weeks and month here are some of their projects and some of the things that they did, in which they shared anecdotes over their time or their experience, to include alumni who are now on in drum majoring collegiate bands and stuff like that we're super proud of. So it's been really meaningful to see what marching band has meant, and we want you to feel that as well. We talk about our band family all the time. So at this point, I would also normally take questions, but again, this is being done pre-recorded and in a live capacity, so to speak, on YouTube to try to avoid those kinds of technical glitches, and we see how well that worked. But overall, if we did not answer your questions here this evening, or you can't find the answers in the paperwork available to you, please reach out to me. That's the email address that I use for both Middletown High School and Odessa High School right now, and I'll be glad to talk with you or your students if they have any questions about the program, or if you have any questions about the program. So we thank you all so much for joining with us this evening. We appreciate you hanging in there through that little technical glitch and our first attempt at putting together a Zoom band info night. We hope you're all as excited as we are to actually get started. I know the instructional staff and I can't wait to get back to making music with students and doing the activity. You know, for so many of us, our seasons were cut short this year. And this is an opportunity for us to get back and continue to make art with students, and we're really excited to do that. So on behalf of myself, the Middletown High School Band Boosters, and the instructional staff for both schools, thank you so much for joining this evening, and we can't wait to hear from you and see you soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon.